Hello, and welcome back to From Rainbow Cube to Dino Cube. So, now, after, well, it's been 12 hours, and the putty's dried on mine, so I'm going to move on to the next step. To test whether or not the putty is dry, I leave a little overflow out, and when it's hardened to where I can't just bend it and stuff, then I take my knife, make sure all fingers are away, and I just... Okay, that was a little bit of force on it, and it withstood. So I'm gonna say it's well dry enough. Alright, so now what we're gonna do is, if you've got a little bit that hangs over, it overlaps right here on mine. See if you can just whittle it off. And again, knife safety. You do not want any finger in the way of in the blade's path. And if you can, that's really nice to keep it on a flat surface, which means your hand is for clamping down instead of holding it up. So I've removed all the extra hangover stuff, well, except for this one right here. Alright, so now I'm going to take this sandpaper, which is 60 grit, I think. 60 to 80 grit is really nice for the first rough go over. And I'm just going to hold it on the ground and flatten it. Almost. Okay, so that's flat and rough now. The next thing are the tips. So, I'm going to flatten the tip right there, and on the other side, a little more. And then these tips. And these tips I do in a circle, because they're at a very, very fine point. And right now, all we really have to do is make it flat. And try for a uniform flatness. Okay. Alright, so there. Now, it's no longer at a point, as it is on this one. And the edges, can't really tell on the edge. And right here, you can see that one is flat and curved, and that one's still to a point. And of course on the other side also. Alright, so now once we've got the rough one done, I move to a 120-ish to a 160-ish grit. And now, this is not flat, it's, I guess this would be a 90-degree angle, perpendicular to the ground. I would go 45, or the flat surface, I'm sorry, 45 and 45, and that's a smooth, rounded cut, or sanding. And then, the same with the tips. And the other tip. And that is very nice, but you can still feel it's a little bit gritty. So from there, I go to this super worn down 1000 grit. It's pretty much the equivalent of newspaper. And I've got it bent a little bit with 2 fingers and just running across it right here like this. And that is smooth. Okay, there we go. Now that is one smooth piece. And I've got a little bit of extra right here. So now if you notice that your plastic is hanging up this way, then if it's just a tad, then you can try to whittle it down like this. But if it's more than that, you can take your rough and go like this on it. So I guess I'll do it real fast on one other piece. Okay, well here, on this one, when I cut down, I stuck my first tile on, glued it in place, and I cut that down. Well now, when I laid this one on, it went over this way, over the first tile, and it's sticking out, so I'm going to run my knife blade parallel and like on top of the first tile I laid down, and scrape it smooth. Then I'm going to give it a little sanding. And that's not perfectly smooth, but it's good enough. So that's done. Now to this one. I know earlier I said to keep it on a flat surface, but for the camera, I can't really see very well on the flat surface, and I'm trying to make it where I can see the best. Alright. And then the final touch-up with the newspaper, like, grit. If you want it just to be like absolutely perfect, you can take a piece of felt and try sanding it with that piece of felt, or a piece of silk. And if you get it as smooth as that, I commend you for your patience. And that is 2 of them.